Hello, everybody. Welcome to Amar's Game Chat. I hope you're all doing well and staying safe. I'm Amar, and at the time of posting this, we are just 1 week away from the Nintendo Switch 2's launch, as well as the Mario Kart World launch, and I guess the Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour launch. But we are just 1 week away from the Nintendo Switch 2 launch, so I wanted to do a final video before the launch. Maybe I'll make one or two other videos before the launch actually happens, but one final video just talking about my thoughts before launch, maybe reminiscing a little bit about the Nintendo Switch before we, set off with the Nintendo Switch 2 into, the greater future of the world. But yeah, just wanted to talk a little bit about the Nintendo Switch 2 before its launch on June 5th, 2025. And yeah, so if you enjoy this video, please feel free to leave a like on the video and any comments down below of any thoughts you have 1 week away from the Nintendo Switch 2 launch. And without further ado, let us get right into it. So yeah, we are exactly 1 week away from the Nintendo Switch 2 launch. And that means, we are like, it's really starting to feel real now. I made a video, I think a couple of weeks after the direct. I believe it was like maybe April 14th. So right before the Mario Kart World Direct, I just made a video talking about, the direct, my thoughts on the Switch 2 back then. Then the Mario Kart World Direct happened, and I didn't really make much more videos after that. I got kind of busy, but we are 1 week away. I want to start talking about the console again. I want to start talking about Nintendo again on this channel, and I figured, this would be a pretty cool way to do it. So, before we even get into that, we did get news yesterday from the Pokemon Company talking about two big announcements. In theory, we got the release date for Pokemon Legends ZA, which is October 16th, 2025. I'm very, 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 very excited for that. It's a little earlier than I thought it would be too. So, that's very fun. We will be playing that game, I think, a little bit earlier than a lot of people thought it would be. I think a lot of people, including myself, obviously, thought it would be releasing in November. But it's releasing in the middle of October, which is very cool. But then we also got the confirmation that there will be a Pokemon Presents on July 22nd, 2025 at 6 a.m. PT, 9 a.m. ET. And yeah, we'll probably see a bunch of Legends ZA in that. I don't know if we'll see something for Legends ZA before that. We'll talk about that a little bit here because there's a possibility that we will. But yeah, we are we're less than 2 months away from that Presents, and we are, I guess, in theory, less than 5 months, I think, away from the release of Pokemon Legends ZA. So very, very cool. But yeah, I just want to talk about the Nintendo Switch 2 for a little bit here. Again, reminisce about the Nintendo Switch for a little bit. Just, I guess, talk about things. So yeah, there's been a lot, I guess, that has happened since the direct aired on April 2nd. We went through the process of pre-orders all over the world. We went through a Mario Kart World Direct. We went through the Pokemon news yesterday. We went through not really getting a new trailer for Donkey Kong Bonanza yet, so hopefully we'll see that soon. But we went through a lot. We've seen the console. We've seen new games for the console from third parties mainly. We haven't really seen much from Nintendo after that direct as of yet. But yeah, it's very, very cool, I think, how close it is. Again, I think the right phrase that it's feeling real now. We are less than 7 days, in theory, at the time of posting this. I'll probably get the console in 7 days, like from this video is going up at 9 a.m. on May 29th. My console is probably going to be coming in around then, in theory. Probably maybe a little later, but my plan obviously is to get the console on June 5th. But and have an unboxing video, and I'm not sure if any of my games will come in because I ordered everything from like different stores just because of how my pre-order situation, landed. So I'm getting the console from one store. I'm getting some games from the other store. I pre-ordered some digital games already. I pre-ordered the Welcome Tour and Fast Fusion. I'm probably also gonna pre-order Deltarune. I forgot about pre-ordering that one. But I'll probably also pre-order that. And um, obviously there is the Zelda upgrades that are coming out on launch. There's GameCube Classics that's coming out on launch. Obviously Mario Kart World, which I got the Mario Kart World bundle, so I did not have to worry about pre-ordering that one. I can just download that from the eShop once the Switch 2 comes out, and probably have to go through a couple of server issues since everyone's gonna be logging in, presumably playing Mario Kart or trying to download Mario Kart. Um, and then, I think that's it for launch day. Obviously, there's a bunch of third-party games. There's Street Fighter, there's Bravely Default, there's Rune Factory. There is officially now Fantasy Life Nintendo Switch 2 edition, Fantasy Life I, the girl who steals time. I think that's what it's called, Nintendo Switch 2 edition. That's coming out on launch day as well. So, which I don't think we knew that until earlier this week. So that's very cool. But we got those games, and then obviously we have the rest of the year. But I think I'm very excited for next week. I'm very excited for June 5th. It's been a very long time coming, I guess you could say. We've been talking about the Switch 2, or the as we knew it last May, as just the Nintendo Switch successor. We're talking about that for a very long time. Even before that, obviously about after that. But it's been crazy to think about how far we've come in theory, and how far we still have to go. The next week is probably gonna feel very, very long. I think it's gonna feel a lot longer than I think the last like 7 or 8 weeks have felt from the direct. Just because again we are so close. We're all gonna be thinking about playing the new Mario Kart World, and experiencing the game. And I mean the console's handheld, and magnetically connecting our Joy Cons to the side of the console. We'll be thinking about that. So I think this week's gonna feel pretty long. Which I mean, I didn't really feel that, I guess, when the Switch came out, because I was still in high. I was in my freshman year of high school, so I was busy with school, so I wasn't necessarily thinking much about the release of the Nintendo Switch. Outside of knowing I had a pre-order, and knowing that I had like Breath of the Wild and Past RMX and 1-2 Switch. So I got the console that on March 3rd, and I played it. But now that I have a little more time on my hands to think about the console, and not be as occupied by other things, it does feel a little different now. It does feel kind of surreal to think about how close we are. In a week, many of us all around the world will be playing the Mario Kart, and just playing on the console. Playing the something I didn't even mention in my update video for Legends EA. We'll be playing the new Pokemon Scarlet and Violet updates. The new updates for Captain Toad, Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, Clubhouse Games, Echoes of Wisdom, Link's Awakening. I think that's there's like new Super Mario Brothers U Deluxe, Super Mario Odyssey. That might be all of them. I wasn't really counting, but there is 11 if you don't count the Pokemon games as separate, 12 if you do. And yeah, so we are that close. There's gonna be a lot to do on launch day, a lot to talk about, a lot to play. But we still have to get there. So, but again, I'm very, very excited for launch day next week. I think since the direct, there's been a lot going on in general, so I haven't really been able to feel that excitement. I think, like I know I'm excited. I'm always thinking about it. I'm rewatching the directs, or not the directs, but the Switch 2 direct from last month. I'm always rewatching that. I'm always watching reactions. I'm always listening to the new Mario Kart theme. Well, I think that's the theme that they play in the Mario Kart World trailer in the Switch 2 direct. I think that's the theme. Obviously, we got since then we got the Ask the interview for Mario Kart, Ask the developer interview for Mario Kart World, and we found out there's more than 200 totally new, well, not new in the sense like they are like specific and like specifically made for World, but like new versions of many of the older Mario Kart songs. Not Mario Kart songs, but like Mario series songs. So I think we heard like the Super Mario 64 theme and or not really theme, but Bob on Battlefield. I think we've heard that in the game already. I think we've heard the new Super Mario Brothers Wii theme. So that's very cool. We're gonna be able to just drive around the free roam world of Mario Kart World and just listen to those new tunes, do some of the new missions. They've actually been posting a lot of those new missions. I think they post one a day on Nintendo Today. I could be wrong about that. I think I've only seen like 4 or 5 missions, but I think they've all come from Nintendo Today. So I think they are posting them all on Nintendo Today, like once a day. But yeah, we are that close. It's kind of crazy to think about. But yeah, again, like I said, I haven't really been able to show my excitement necessarily outside of just like for my personal self, just because there's been so much going on. But we are 1 week away, so I just want to be on here, talk a little bit about it. Um, it's just been I think it's been a very fun 8 weeks, 9 weeks since the direct, 7 weeks, I guess, since the direct, and I think it'll be a very fun week. Um, I guess I didn't really talk about my pre-orders, like my pre-order story on this channel. It's not really that much. Like it's not really a story necessarily. Maybe it's a short story, but um, I did pre-order it. I did get it from the Nintendo Store. With the GameCube controller, and I got an extra pair of Joy Cons, and I got the Nintendo Switch 2 camera. And then I got like, so that's like some of the stuff I got. And then I got some games from like, from other retailers. And then I got like a mixture of retailers. I got like, I have Super Street Fighter, not Super Street Fighter. I have Street Fighter 6 physically coming in on launch. Hopefully, I have the new Rune Factory. I have, I think I have 1 or 2 other games that are physical, and then I've already pre-ordered, as I mentioned, Welcome Tour and Fast Fusion, and the upgrades for Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, which do come free with the NSO expansion pack, and I do have that, but there's a possibility that one day I will not. So I'd rather have those upgrades and just know that I have like the security that I'm gonna be able to play those upgrades without like any hiccups. So. And like for me, I never finished Tears of the Kingdom. I finished Breath of the Wild the day before Tears of the Kingdom came out, so I can't really go back and play that one. In the same way that I want to play Tears of the Kingdom. I think I finished up to like the 3rd or 4th dungeon in Tears of the Kingdom around the time it released, and then I just kind of dropped it. Not because I wasn't having fun or anything, but in truth, I was running out of resources in the game, and so it was kind of stressful, and I was like, I don't really want to do this right now. And so I dropped it for a little bit, and then they revealed, well, not for a little bit, I dropped it for 2 years in theory, but then they revealed in the tree houses that the Zelda notes, and like there's gonna be a feature in the Tears of the Kingdom where you can like trade some of like your items between you can trade your items like between Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. So I'm able to bring over like some of my more expensive items, I guess, from Breath of the Wild and sell them and get some rupees and then buy some arrows and do everything. That's kind of a lame excuse, I know, for not playing Tears of the Kingdom as much as I did Breath of the Wild. Actually, I've already played Tears of the Kingdom for double the time I've played Breath of the Wild, but I'm only probably like half of the way through Tears of the Kingdom, so we have a lot more hours to put in Tears of the Kingdom. And once they confirmed the Nintendo Switch 2 edition, I figured, it's probably best that I wait to play it. And I've actually been doing that with a couple of other games. I started Bowser's Fury last year. I've had 3D World plus Bowser's Fury since it released in February of 2021. And I finished 3D World early that year, early 2021. But I never really got to Bowser's Fury because new Pokemon Snap came out. And then I guess, the direct came around in that June, and then we got the full slate of games, and then Mario Kart, not Mario Kart, Mario Golf World, Star Rush came. I think it's Star Rush. Maybe not Star Rush. I don't think it's Star Rush. Star Rush is um the Mario Party on the DS, the 3DS. But like the Mario Golf for um World Tours on the 3DS. I don't know what it's called, but the Mario Kart for the Switch, and I finished the campaign in that, and that took a lot of my time. Well, not a lot of my time, but that's what I really focused on for like June. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart for the PS5 came out around then, so I was focused on that. So yeah, I never really got to Bowser's Fury until like the middle of last year, and I started playing it. I really loved it. Like, it's a really fun game, but I haven't collected all the cat shines yet. And I was gonna play it a couple days ago, and I thought about it's getting a free update on the Nintendo Switch 2, so I should just wait and play that once the Switch 2 comes out next week. And that's what I'm doing. So, yeah, that's what I'm doing with that. I'm also gonna be playing Pokemon Violet. I'm gonna go back to that. I think I finished everything I could do in Pokemon Violet, so I'm actually not sure if I will start. I also have Pokemon Scarlet, so maybe I'll start a new file on Pokemon Scarlet. But I definitely do want to transfer over my file to Nintendo Switch 2 of Pokemon Violet, and play that in what I'm assuming it's gonna be like maybe upscaled 4K on like the dock, and like 1080 on the Switch 2 at maybe like a 30 FPS. It's like stable 30 FPS. We've seen like in that case that one of the upgrades they're doing is like they're making it to where there's 20-ish Pokemon that could appear on the screen, opposed to, I believe, the cap in the Nintendo Switch version of the game is 15. So that's very cool, and it does look visually a little bit better. I know there's been a lot of discussion about it doesn't look that much of a visual upgrade. I think it does look a little bit better than the Nintendo Switch version. Obviously I assume it will run better just inherently because the Switch 2 is more powerful than the Switch. But those, and then I think the last game that I'll go back to after the updates come out is Echoes of Wisdom. I got to like the middle point of Echoes of the Wisdom, so I got the middle point of Tears of the Kingdom and Echoes of Wisdom, and I think I said Tears of the Kingdom, and Echoes of Wisdom, and then I just stopped. So I'll be going back to that. I didn't really had an issue with the performance in Echoes of Wisdom, but it came out, I believe, in September of last year, and then Mario Party Jamboree came out, and that took up a lot of my time because I was playing that a lot. And then Mario and Luigi Brothership also came out, and I've been playing that to this day still. So I had to put Echoes of the Wisdom on the back burner for a little bit, but with a free update, that's a perfectly good reason, I think, to jump right back into the game. Again, I think I was like 15 hours in, so I don't know how far that is like in retrospect, but I've only done like 2 dungeons, so not that far, I don't think. But I'm very excited to go back to that. But I don't think I'm gonna go back to many of the other free update games. Maybe I'll pop into Captain Toad. Maybe I'll pop into Mario Odyssey. I don't think I'll pop into Clubhouse games because I think they've updated the fidelity of that game, but they also, I think the other major thing they did was they made it to where like 32 ish of the 51 or 50, I think it's 51 games are like playable like 4 players now, if you use like Game Share or play it online. So I think that's what I'm going to. I don't know if I'll go back to that, but I think that'd be pretty fun, just to pop in for a little bit. I don't think I'll go back to Link's Awakening. I think I talked about Pokemon. I don't think I'll go back to New Super Mario Brothers U Deluxe. I think there's maybe 1 or 2 other games that aren't really like. I'm not really thinking. Oh, Game Builder Garage. I don't think I'll go back to Game Builder Garage, but still, like, there's still, and then obviously I think there's gonna be just inherent upgrades for certain Switch games. So like, I'm probably gonna transfer my file from my Switch to the Switch 2 and play Mario and Luigi Brothership on there, because maybe I'll have a little bit better performance just because of the inherent power of the console. Maybe I'll play Sword and Shield a little bit on there, so stuff like that. But what else? I think I talked about my pre-order experience. It wasn't that bad. I did try getting it on that night, so the April 24th. But I did put a lot of my eggs in the basket of getting it on from the Nintendo Switch store because the My Nintendo store because um what is it? Because I registered pretty early for the lot, and that wasn't even a lottery. It's first come first serve, and I think we've found out that it definitely was first come first serve. Just they went very slow, I guess. Not slow, but they've probably been going through like there's probably a lot of registrants that put in like entries to get the console. So I think they've been going like at least when I don't think they did I don't think they've done invites for like maybe 2 weeks now because they're probably like I don't know what the right word is, but they're like the warehouse that Nintendo has in Washington that like they are personally sourcing from. All the orders are probably gone, and they can't really like restock the inventory in that warehouse until all the Switch 2s are shipped out. So that's probably also why. That's probably mainly why they're not really sending out any invites right now. Just because I think right now, if you do order it from Nintendo Store, they do want you to feel like you're guaranteed to get it near launch. Um, so yeah, so but I got my invite like late that night of May 8th, and I pre-ordered it pretty immediately. Again with some accessories, and then I was able to get some game pre-orders in, all that. So very very exciting. Again my pre-order story. I mean, I guess I was a little anxious that day because I wasn't getting my invite while other people were. And I was seeing more and more invites come in, but I took a nap that like afternoon, and then I woke up and I went to my email and my invite was right there. So I was very happy about that. But yeah, that's my pre-order story, I guess. Not that very exciting. You know, but still pretty fun. So nothing really to worry about there. Um, you know, what else? I mean, and then I guess nothing really happened since then necessarily. The Pokemon news was really fun yesterday. I guess we can go now to talking a little bit about what the future holds for the Nintendo Switch 2 a little bit. Because we know about Mario Kart World. We're very excited for Mario Kart World. We know about Donkey Kong Bonanza. That's releasing in the middle of July. I believe July 17th. And then we also know about the Nintendo Switch 2 editions of Mario Party Jamboree, Super Mario Party Jamboree, Kirby in the Forgotten Land, Pokemon Legends ZA, which again got news yesterday, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. I might be missing one more Nintendo Switch 2 edition, but we know Nintendo Switch editions for those games. And I think those are the main, besides Metroid Prime 4. Those Nintendo Switch 2 editions have release dates. Metroid Prime 4 just doesn't have a release date in general for the Nintendo Switch or the Nintendo Switch 2, so we're definitely waiting on that. But besides that, there is a rumor that we will be getting a Nintendo Direct next month, and I think that's a pretty good, just even if it wasn't a rumor, I think that'd just be a pretty good thing to predict. Because we always get a June Direct of some kind normally, as long as nothing else is going on, we do get a June Direct. So we probably are going to get one next month. I was thinking maybe they would do it at the end of June, maybe early July, but the rumor is that they'll do it like in the first half of June. So that'll be very exciting. But that's I mean, they could do it next week theoretically. I think that'll be a pretty cool launch week, but I don't think they will, just because I think Nintendo's probably gonna want to focus on launch. That'd be kind of stressful because if they do it, they would theoretically have to do it on Tuesday in the US. I'm gonna go by US time. They theoretically have to do it on Tuesday because by like midday Wednesday here, people overseas, so people like in Japan and Australia, and maybe some like some Eastern European countries and some Asian countries, other Asian countries, they will have the console already. So they can't really air a direct at the same time that the console's coming out, so that'd be kind of difficult. And then obviously by Thursday it's out everywhere, and then Friday they don't really do directs, and Friday is also Summer Games Fest, so I thought they would do a direct on that day. And then we reach Monday, Tuesday of the next week, and I think they will do it on a Tuesday. They've always really done the directs on Tuesdays, except on in 2023. But that was a federal holiday. That Juneteenth was that Monday. So that Monday they would have had to announce it for the Tuesday, but Juneteenth was on the Monday. So obviously Nintendo takes off. I believe Juneteenth is a federal holiday. So Nintendo took off, and then they announced the direct on the 20th for the 21st. So yeah, I think it'll be on a Tuesday. The Tuesdays that are open are June 3rd and June 10th, and then June 17th and June 24th. I thought they would do it on June 17th just because the last two June directs have happened exactly 1 month from the big July games. So Pikmin 4 in 2023, and I guess it's not like a big game, but Nintendo World Championships NES Edition on July 18th. The direct was on June 18th. So I thought they would do it on like June 17th, and then Bonanza does release on July 17th. So, but I guess they're not going to keep that pattern if they do it early in the month. Well, not early in the month, but the first half of the month. But I mean, what is that direct really going to show us? I will save a lot of those things for the predictions video, but I think we will see one more Switch 2 game this year. We'll definitely get like a new trailer for Donkey Kong Bonanza, Kirby Air Riders, and maybe Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment. I'm still kind of conflicted on, if that game's going to come out this year. I think in the the original financial documents that they released for the most recent investors meeting, they went back and changed it pretty fast, but in the original ones they did have the game down as winter 2025. So that could just be them maybe jumping the gun a little bit, or maybe they weren't supposed to put that there because that was like an old release date, and now they don't think they'll be able to reach it, so they changed it back to winter this winter, which also goes into early March. So yeah, so I don't know if that we'll see that here. I mean, if we see it here, I think it's coming out this year. But if we don't see it here, I think they will show it like in the September. I guess it could be in August, September, October direct. Or they'll just do what they did with Legends ZA and just randomly announce information for it. I mean, we just got the creator's voice with it for it, and we just saw a couple of new tidbits of footage, and then we saw we heard some new information about the game, so that's very, very cool. That's where I kind of thought they would talk about the release date a little bit, but they didn't, which is fine, just because it would be cool like if they did that and then they were like, make sure you play the game, it's releasing in November or December. But I have a feeling that they're probably just trying to figure out like the best time to release the game. It has been 5 years since Age of Calamity, so they've probably been working on it since Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes released, so that was 3 years ago. So we're probably reaching the end of development on that game, so they're probably just now again figuring out how much time they'll need to do like bug fixes in the game, and then when would be the best time to release it. But those are the main games that we saw in the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct that don't really have, and Metroid Prime 4 and Dragon X Drive. But those 5 games, I believe I said 5 games, right? 5 games, yeah. Those 5 games are games that we haven't really got much information on since they were announced. We saw, or I guess we got like impressions of Donkey Kong Bonanza and Metroid Prime 4 and Dragon Drive, but we haven't really seen new trailers for them since that direct, or really gotten much new information officially from Nintendo on them since the April 2nd 2025 direct. So I expect most of those games to get trailers here, or just like little segments, maybe not even trailers, just like headlines. No, I think it's headline. Yeah, maybe some of them would be a headline, like maybe Dragon Drive. The release date for Dragon Drive would be a headline, and or Drag X Drive, and maybe like the Metroid Prime 4 release date will be a headline, though that could obviously be a middle segment of a direct. They announced the date. It's a story trailer. Pretty cool. But stuff like that. Air Riders, I think, would be a new trailer. I don't think they would do like a small little segment for Air Riders. And then I could see Age of Imprisonment being a headline, just because we have seen the first trailer. First trailer is pretty beefy, and then we did get the creator's voice. So, but those are things we know about. And then we also have the Switch games of Tomodachi Life, Live in the Dream, and Rhythm Heaven Groove, and those will probably see trailers here as well, because those are Switch games. The Switch hasn't had a game since Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition, released in the second half of March. And right now, the next first-party game for the Switch is Pokemon Legends ZA, releasing in October. I wouldn't be surprised if there is one more Switch game between now and then, and they use the June Direct to maybe announce that game for like August, maybe early September, something like that. Because that is a large gap. That would be the largest gap in theory that we've ever gotten on Nintendo Switch, of just around 7 months. So I don't think they want to just like leave the Nintendo Switch without many games. So I think we'll get one more. It could be a simple Shadow Drop for all we know, like maybe a Metroid Prime 2 or 3 remastered Shadow Drop or something like that. But I think we'll see that. But I think in theory, the biggest thing that like the main thing that obviously I think we would want to see from the Direct would be one more game. I didn't mention, I think we'll see one more Nintendo Switch 2 game here. I've been going back and forth. Obviously we have Bonanza. We are assuming that is from EPD 8, which is the 3D Mario team. So would I predict a 3D Mario? I don't think so. If they really want 3D Mario this year, I think they would do like a Galaxy 2 remastered or Galaxy remastered with like Galaxy 2 content. Because theoretically 64 is going to be on NSO. Sunshine will also be on NSO with GameCube Classics. Galaxy will be the only one without a re-release from 3D All-Stars, and just general re-release on the Switch. So I think they would try to do something like that if they wanted to do something 3D Mario related for the 40th anniversary and for the Switch 2's launch year. Maybe something to tie in with the Mario movie 2 next year, or what we know it now as the Super Mario Bros. World movie, which is very cool. But something like that. I think 3D Mario is on the way at some point, maybe late next year, but I think it would be kind of difficult to, and it's not impossible, so it could happen, but I'm just not, I wouldn't, like, if like I had to make a bet on it, I would not bet on on a new 3D Mario showing up in like the next Direct, just because I don't think it would. It's not it's a huge game, but it's just, I think they're going to want to focus on Bonanza a little bit, and I think it would be a little weird to announce a new 3D Mario, especially if it's made by that same EPD, even if they're from different teams. Maybe that same EPD, and then be fairly similar. The new 3D Mario would be kind of similar to a Donkey Kong Bonanza. So, but I could still see something pretty beefy, I guess, releasing or being announced in June Direct release, like in November, because Pokemon is not dated for November, which is usually the normal Pokemon spot when we're getting a new mainline game. So that does also add to like my inclination that we do see something more this year. It could again could be like a Galaxy plus Galaxy 2 remaster. It could be, I don't think they would do Luigi Mansion 4. That's been talked about a lot. Next Level Games is due for a new game, but I don't think we're there yet with Luigi's Mansion 4. And I think they would want to do that in October. And then that wouldn't really make sense, because Nintendo would then, Pokemon Company would just be able to then do Pokemon in November, if they're not trying to line it up just with being like a little thing with like X and Y released in October 2023, 2013, and then Legends ZA is released in October 2025. But I think the more logical answer is that it would be like a major new Nintendo Switch 2 edition of a game. So Super Mario Bros. Wonder comes to mind. Maybe something like Nintendo Switch 2, Nintendo Switch Sports, maybe Nintendo Switch 2 Sports, like a sequel to Nintendo Switch Sports, or Nintendo Switch 2 edition of that game. We got basketball last year, so in theory they are working on Nintendo Switch Sports still. Um, so that'd be cool. Or just something, they go back and they do Pikmin 4 Nintendo Switch 2 edition. I don't think that would be a big holiday game, so I don't think they would do that, but I think something Mario related. Um, Maybe they have two announcements. Maybe I'm a new Mario Sports, but again, this is a rumor for a direct. I think we are gonna have a direct next month. I don't want to get too much into that just because, you know, I'm I we don't really know the information on the direct yet. We don't know if it'll be a general direct yet, but um, I guess the last thing I want to do, before I wrap up for now, is just to reminisce a little bit on the Nintendo Switch. I kind of did it when I was talking about my launch experience with the Switch. We had a fairly similar lead up. We had the announcement a couple months before the main presentation, and then the launch, a couple months after that presentation. And I think I'm more excited for the Switch 2 now. In theory, like I think I'm doing a lot more things that are getting me excited. Again, like watching the direct over, watching new trailers again. But that doesn't mean that the lead up to Nintendo Switch was any less special. I think it's very, very cool. The Nintendo Switch is very cool. It's a very cool piece of hardware. It's a very cool console. It's a very cool thing for Nintendo to do. And we've had so many great games on it over the years. I just did a top 20. If I could find my phone, give me a second. Let me get it. I did a top 20 of my favorite Nintendo Switch 2, my favorite Nintendo Switch games of this generation. So I will, just talk about those for a little bit. So yeah, I had Super Mario Odyssey at 1. That is my favorite Nintendo Switch game. Pokemon Violet, Pikmin 4, Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, Pokemon Legends Arceus, Super Mario Party Jamboree, Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, Pokemon Shield, Fire Emblem 3 Houses, Stitch Period, Astral Chain, Splatoon 3, Animal Crossing New Horizons, Mario and Luigi Brothership, and Florence. And those were my top 20 Nintendo Switch games. And so, the Nintendo Switch had so many amazing experiences. I mentioned Odyssey. Again, I think I mentioned Odyssey that I wouldn't want to go back and play the update. And I think it's just because I think the game is just... It wouldn't take away from how special that game was for me, but, I would want to restart the game. And I don't really know if I'd have the time to go back and play Odyssey right now. So... it was in the same thing with Pokemon Violet and Pokemon Scarlet, just because I would love to play those games just with like the best version possible. Odyssey's already a really well made game. It runs really well, so I wouldn't really want to go back and play that right now. But it's just been a great 8+ years of the Nintendo Switch. It's the directs have been really special. We got the reveal of the sequel to Legend of the Breath of the Wild, and the return of Mario and Luigi, and a new top-down Zelda, and Metroid Prime 4 be announced in June 2017, and recently started showing up in directs again for a 2025 date, release date, which will probably be, if I had to guess, probably like September. I think they will announce the new release date in the direct, and then have a release in September, but it's just been it's been a great 8+ years, and it's gonna be, I think, a great 8+ years of the Nintendo Switch 2. But I think there is always going to be something special with the Nintendo Switch. It being the first hybrid console, Nintendo's really done. I guess you can consider the GameCube a hybrid console, but the Switch is pretty much the first type of version of this type of form factor that's been this successful. And they're doing it again. We got the mouse cons with the Nintendo Switch 2, but I think there'll always be something special with the Switch. Just being able to pick it up and play, and play a full console experience game on just in the palms of your hand, playing Breath of the Wild, playing Super Mario Odyssey. I think that'll always be really special, and that'll be a really. I'll always look back very fondly on those moments. But yeah, we are at the Nintendo Switch 2. Again, we are a week away. And it's just crazy to think about how quickly time has flew since the release of Nintendo Switch 2 and Nintendo Switch 2. And I'll probably be saying the same things when Nintendo Switch 3 or whatever the next Nintendo console is announced is called. I think that time will probably even fly even faster. But yeah, I'm very excited to use the mouse cons. We are. I guess there wasn't really many Switch games at launch that use the mouse cons, except I guess Welcome Tour, Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour. That'll probably be the main thing that used the mouse cons. But Metroid Prime 4 will use the mouse cons. We'll probably get some Dragon X Drive will use the mouse cons. We'll probably get a couple of other games from Nintendo, either this year or next year, that use the mouse cons as like a pretty cool way, a pretty fun way for some of the games. I guess we could get a new Pokemon Ranger too. Maybe that's when they announced the Pokemon Presents, a new Pokemon Ranger, and that's why they're doing the Pokemon Presents a month after the Switch, or a little bit of more than a month after the Switch 2 releases, because they want to announce a new Pokemon Ranger for the console. But I think that is, I've been going on for 41 minutes now. There's so much more I could talk about. I'm gonna try to do an unboxing video of the Switch 2 once it releases. Once I'm able to get my hands on one, or the one I ordered. But I'll probably have a lot more thoughts while I'm opening that there. But I think I've talked about everything here. I haven't really felt like anything negative towards Nintendo Switch 2. The games look really awesome. The price point, I think, is, maybe a little high, but I think it makes sense, for the hardware that's in the console, and, the form factor, and the power it's going to be giving off. I think, and then, obviously there is, other circumstances that, can affect the price and everything. So, I think the 450, 500 for the Mario Kart World bundle is a little high again, but if I look back like my journal, I had it going at 440, so 450 isn't that much more than that. And so I was preparing for 440. It's $10 more at 450. And then obviously, but in other regions, obviously it makes sense that there's more hesitancy, because it is obviously priced a little bit more higher in other regions than it is here in the US and other other countries. So it does make a little bit more sense why there's some hesitancy on that end. But besides that, I'm very excited for Mario Kart World. It looks amazing. I'm very excited to play that next week. Again, not everybody's want to Switch. Welcome Tour, Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour. And then, the Legend of Zelda games. I'm very excited for everything. And yeah, so again, I'm expecting this week to go by pretty slowly, leading into launch, but hopefully I can find some things that make it go a little bit faster. But yeah, that is all I have for you all today. So I hope you all enjoyed this. It's a little more laid back video, me just talking about the Nintendo Switch 2 for a little bit, but I hope you all enjoyed this video. I hope you all are very excited for Nintendo Switch 2. If you are getting one, please feel free to leave any comments down below of your own thoughts on it. Maybe even leave your friend code. I will try to add you. If you do leave your friend code, I will add you on my Nintendo Switch, just because I would love to have some friends. I would love to have some I would love to add people that are getting the Switch 2, and even if you're not getting the Switch 2, just add them to my friends list, and we can maybe I can see you playing some Mario Kart. Maybe I'll join in, stuff like that. But yeah, that is all I have for you all today. I hope you all are doing well and staying safe. I hope you all do makes you happy, because that rhymes with my old name, Generic Happy. And I will see you next one. So, yeah. I hope you all are very excited for the Nintendo Switch too, and I'll see you next one. Good